here's my current email. It's a shame to see these letters go out and then have a stack of returned addresses, and I realized that that's a backlog from things that we were dealing with decades ago, that we've got to fix.
I want to jump in because there's a way we might, well, Ron writes for the Sam News, and he's always putting the information out about what they're doing and all that, so we share that, we put it on social media when you do events. When we started creating the network, Fishing Game Club Network, one of our most difficult tasks was keeping up with changing leadership, the person who's the point person to contact. So we struggle with the same thing. Our staff is constantly trying to update. So, you know, as clubs, if you could share that information as you get new officers, who your contact person is, and you know, probably put this on the application for clubs, a box that says, are you okay with Sam sharing your contact information with Ron so you can get information? That might be a way to transition.
And at the very least, you just scroll by and delete it. Or you can actually remove yourself from the list.
Yeah, I have to ask their permission because we have special protections on our membership list, but if the club agrees to it, I can share it with you. I do want to talk a little bit about a program. It's a little controversial. I'm trying not to get into the weeds, but back years ago when Chandler Woodcock was a commissioner, I asked him to apply for Pittman Robertson money for grants for clubs to make improvements to their ranges. And we were successful for a few years in getting some pretty good sized grants for clubs. So if you could give us an update on where that is. I know there's a lot of clubs out there that have asked me, you know, are those grants gonna open back up again?
Yeah, I can't honestly speak factually on the grant side. With it, we're on we have a 5-year grant cycle with the federal grant for those funds. And there was a 1-year extension with the transition of my predecessor's retirement and whatnot. So I'm just getting into the grant process for the next 5 years. So I really don't want to misspeak and talk about how that would affect the SAM organization.
Well, it's not gonna affect SAM as much as it is the clubs, because
Right.
they're the ones that really need it. Even SAM, we can go to various funding sources, which we have to build our structure. That was specifically intended to help the clubs, and I was just curious if you saw in the future that opening back up again. I guess my question is it the intent of the department to, in the future, if money's available, open that back up?
I'd have to dig into it to be able to give you it hasn't been something we've talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important, especially you folks have neighbors who don't like shooting. They want to shut down your ranges.
Scarborough's in a bind right now. I mean, not Scarborough, Standish is in a bind right now.
Yeah, I know they are. And part of the reason that you're probably going to be successful is because of the 2 range protection acts that are in place. Unfortunately, for a new range, there's grandfathering that happens. So the older ranges are protected by those 2 range protection acts. The new ones going forward, like mine at Sam, are not. And they make things very difficult, some of the neighbors do, to get your permitting. Stay in close contact with me because I went through it with the city of Augusta, and it took 2 years to get approved for our little 22 range. The way that the city of Augusta really kind of caught us in a tough situation is because they could write regulations unlike the past, the grandfather ones, they wanted us to have a lead mitigation plan. And that, when you're only shooting a few times a year, is a big expense. So the way we solved that was we went to all copper, and I secured, I don't know, between 10 and 15,000 rounds of copper 22 ammo. So I was able to get approved for that range. I'm not saying that's your solution. I'm just saying that you have hurdles to jump over that the other clubs do not. And we'll stand by you and help you through that process. We want to help you.
I can tell you, we were one of the initial clubs that got money to expand our range, and it's a very complicated process because you're also dealing with the towns. Our vice president at the time, and his wife was our information officer, basically worked on that steady. And the town, you know, even your shooting shack, we had to get the building permits for that. We missed the inspection period for our pools, put us back an entire year to see if we had fairy shrimp and spotted salamanders. Then there was another law, we had to have the trees cut down by a certain date because moths nest under the bark, but the roads were posted, so we basically, the logger cut all the trees and stacked them up on the 100-yard range adjacent to it until we were able to get those out. And there's just, it's a lengthy process. It adds to your cost. You might get 50%, but your overall cost is gonna go up. So it is a financial gain, and then that you have to stay in compliance as far as public access. You have to have posted open shooting periods. We had to buy a snow blower to blow it, keep a path cleared down the range to the target so people could shoot in the winter.
This is one of the NRA grants? Was it,
This was all part of the grant.
part of the NRA grants?
No,
No.
federal, through the state, the federal.
But it's what, on those grants is what you agreed to, you didn't have to send that, right?
Well, these were I wasn't in the first year, I got the second year, but these are the things that we had to do.
Yeah, but you didn't have to do those.
That was,
I had
that
the
was the
same grant.
agreement before everybody signed on the
Yeah.
dotted line.
Yeah, I had the same type of grants, and I didn't have to do that. I did have to give public access, but not, I didn't have to say I was giving over 20.
And
So-
we
And public access is defined in many different ways.
Yeah,
Um,
well, yes.
And you don't have to just say, come on down public anytime you want.
No, we had to have a
But there's
specific amount, we had to have a range officer, we mostly did it on Saturdays, we had to have a range officer from the club on hand at that time, whether anyone showed up or not. And some of the things we did, like our open house was considered a public access for Blueberry Fest. Sheriff Nichols does, concealed carry classes once a month there, that counts as, but you had to have someone there who was documenting all that. The
So,
next thing we've run into, just jumping back to lit mitigation, is a bunch of the insurance companies have discontinued that type of insurance. Now, the new companies we're going with are much more stringent. With our indoor range now, we're looking at a lot of money. The old exhaust fan is no longer adequate. So there's a lot to it.
so I have a question, based on my experience, anytime there's a federal program, it comes with tremendous strings, all right? When you do things as a state or a private entity, it's almost always easier. In my case, why I chose to raise the money from members and other sources is I wanted the freedom to offer Ron and the department the flexibility to create programs that aren't federally managed. Creativity. And so I guess my question for you is, based on the experience we had with these grants, would it make more sense for us to find a revenue source at the state level and create a more streamlined system to make investments in clubs? For example, we have, I think it's 300,000 hunters, sportsmen in the state with the non-residents. If you saw a $1 increase in your hunting license and it went dedicated to a grant program to enhance shooting opportunities across the state, would that make more sense than trying to go after this federal money that we know is not completely stable in the future? And it comes with so many conditions, it's almost impossible to manage. So I asked that question to get some feedback from you, what your thoughts are on that.
My personal thought would depend on region. If you're in a rural area that doesn't depend on rangers to sight in their rifle to do some shooting, it's much more different than a town that doesn't even allow a discharge of a firearm, or you don't have the open space. I can shoot 200 yards on my personal range, I can only shoot 100 at our club.
I know. So any other thoughts on that concept?
I'll tell you a little story about that. One of the fish and game clubs in southern Maine, back in the day, my father-in-law was a member of it, had the same attitude as you. Why would we want to buy land, buy a range, build a range, put a range in? In the town of Gorham, there's 30 sand pits. Why would we ever want to spend that waste of money? Standish did shake their head over this, right? So they never went. Now they have no range. All they have is a small indoor range at their club. and they're struggling, they can't get members to come to the club. Urban sprawl is gonna even come to northern Maine, eastern Maine, western Maine, it's coming. And so, you gotta have the foresight enough to say, we gotta get ahead of the game. Because if you don't look ahead of the game, yeah, maybe not 5 years from now, but 10 years from now, you're gonna have neighbors that come in and say, nope, we don't want you shooting. So,
I'll bet every range here can state the problem we have. We have set hours we agree to with the town when it can be shoot and when you can't. Some of it's courtesy, some of it's safety, because we have to play the sunlight. But there's also a gravel pit nearby they shoot at, and it's always, they're shooting up at the club again.
Yeah, oh yeah,
It's always,
Yeah, it's
I
always.
fought that fight too.
yep.
Okay, so we're gonna be wrapping up pretty soon. I'm gonna make a plea to you. Our organization gets its strength from its membership. And a lot of the clubs, I know Standish tried to do to beef up the same membership, so did Wyndham, so did Buxton Hollis, did a great job. I'm asking, I got two of my membership committee members, a board member, an associate board member, I think you wanted to say something, and so did you. We offer first-time folks half-price memberships to Sam, that's $12.50. I think it's cheapest darn insurance you'll ever get. So I'm hoping that you would consider promoting what we do within, encouraging people to join. I know that you've done an amazing job at your meetings. He actually stops the meetings and says, anybody wanna sign up? You got half an hour or whatever you gave us, so.
That's the key, is if you have Dave come down, Dave's a great speaker. If you have him come to your club, as the leadership of your club, stop the meeting, even if it's 10 minutes. Like whoever wants to sign up, don't let them say, oh yeah, I'll take it home and sign up, because they won't sign up. So, talk to the leadership of the club ahead of time, let him come down, he'll sell Sam, don't worry. And people will join, but give them that time, don't wait for after or whatever. Give them that, take that 10 minutes, even if it makes your meeting go 10 minutes later, take that 10 minutes, and you'll walk out of there with a lot more Sam members than if they take it home and say, oh yeah, I'll join later, because only a third of them maybe will join.
Is there any age limit to that?
We have a youth membership as well.
A youth membership until 1250?
I think it's $10, I think it's
$10.
Yeah, but there needs to be an adult attached to it.
So, Mike, you wanna say something on that bit?
Yeah, and something I was gonna say is, every club is different. We've got some clubs that are, very business-like, and, some businesses probably learn how they run things, and then you have other clubs that are, a little more, folksy, whatever, and it takes all kinds, and that's great, but what I wanted to say is, I'm willing, as chair of the membership committee, to work as much as I can. If you wanna figure out a way to work with your club and, get as many members in, you can contact the office, and Becky or Dave, whoever you talk to, you can get in touch with me. I'd be glad to try to help work out a personal plan on it as well, or personal or club plan on how to do this. And again, for some of you have clubs that are a little more technologically advanced. If you've got a website, we can place a link right to our online application, do things like that. If some clubs want to make it a requirement, they send us a list and a big old check, we can take care of that too. But, I used to do this actually for a living in another job when I lived in Virginia, worked with the National Rifle Association. I'd be glad to work with any of you guys and your clubs to create a plan to bring as many of them into the fold as we can, so.
My turn. Well, as I said earlier, I cut my teeth on the first mandatory boating education program in the country, and it was an all-volunteer Army, Ron. We didn't have internet, buddy. And it was fun starting from scratch. And then I went, and after 3 years, I was told if I wanted the job, I'd have to transfer over to the hunter safety program. And there were 4 regional coordinators, and it ended up that I was the only one running the whole program in the state for a while. I worked with so many clubs, you're not gonna believe it, and they're all different, and I worked with the NRA on the Youth Hunter Challenge. I worked with a number of other organizations, and I found in my experience that Sam is probably the best run operation I've seen. No offense to the NRA, but the NRA's got some issues they need to
I've been
deal
away
with.
for 20 years. So.
Good for you. You got out when the getting was good. And one of the things I found with the clubs that are successful, and well, you know, with Dave and his group of people, you know, I walk into the office and it's like family. And I don't want to compare them to my dogs jumping all over me when I walk in the house at home. But you know, they drop everything and they welcome you. And it really is, it's like family. It's like when Becky said at the volunteer thing, you know, I think she was almost in tears. But she said, this is like family to me, this is great. And it is, it really is. And I think your clubs are the same way. My challenge to you, as Mike said, is to figure out how we can get the SAM information into the hands of your club members, not only to get more SAM members, but to get the information out there. Because SAM is putting out a tremendous amount of information. If you go on the Facebook page for SAM today, you're going to be scrolling for probably how many different postings that you put up with videos?
A lot.
A lot. And that's good stuff. And that goes, you know, Becky sends you emails, great. But if you have a Facebook page, it would be great to put some of the SAM stuff on the Facebook page, blow some smoke for SAM. You have an email. Do you all have email addresses for all your club members? Maybe. Is there somebody who does communications? You got a communication specialist? That person should be sending stuff about SAM because you're a member of SAM. Your club is a member of SAM, but not all the individuals are members of SAM. And it would be great if you could just keep more information. You know, it's how the world works now. The more times you see it on email, well, maybe I'm going to jump on it, and then I'm going to find out that it's really spam. You know, but the SAM stuff, SAM ain't spam. Okay, trust me. But this, yeah, SAM ain't spam. Wait a minute. Here we go. Speaking of that, writing it down. I got a challenge for you. How many of you have key rings? None of you have key rings? How'd you get here? Did you walk them? I'll tell you what, here you go. What am I tripping over? I'm gonna give everybody one of these, and I want you to put it on your key ring. I want it to be your key ring. And when you're in your clubhouse, or wherever you are, you can have one.
Yeah, I want to be Santa Claus for one.
Yeah.
You want to be Santa Claus? No, you're not Santa Claus.
So here's the deal.
You better.
Put it on your key ring, and when you go to your club meeting, talk about SAM.
Mine broke.
You know, you got a website, put it on your website. You've got, however you communicate with,
Mine broke.
all four one club?
Yeah.
Man, this is getting expensive.
There it is. There you go. It's an earring.
And let me tell you something. These, for those of you complaining about Sam wasting their money,
Yeah, we didn't pay for these.
Sam did not pay for it.
David, you're gonna trip yourself in a minute.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you.
So, and as Mike said, if you need some help in developing communications with your club members, let's do it. You know, like I said, I've been involved with a lot of clubs. I've seen a lot of them because of communications with their members have really done well. And they're not all in Maine, most of them were in Maryland, but what these clubs, the power these clubs have, the power that you people have is incredible. And I think David brought it up with the legislature.
I'd like to add a little bit to what you said. Not only about your members being members of SAM, there may be members in your community that are members of SAM that are not necessarily members of your club. So with that cross communication, we can build membership in the clubs and with SAM. And I'll also put this out there to any club out there. My name is Daniel Bell. I do social media for Sam. If any club here or around the state has any question, would like help running social media, running posts, anything like that, please email me. Get a hold of Becky or David at Sam. You can find me on Facebook, Messenger. More than happy to help.
Will you be making available a copy of the video of the meeting?
Of this year?
Yes.
I absolutely can, yes.
You have
Um,
Facebook?
We don't have Facebook.
It'll probably be up in 10 minutes.
Well, no, this, right now, we're at an hour and a half. What's gonna happen is, more likely than not, if you want, David, I can put this on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, right.
And,
Just use the link.
yep, and then anybody that has YouTube can find it.
I was just amazed that when I got home, I don't know, when did I get home? Maybe yesterday, I was poking around on my computer and went to the SAM site to see what was going on. And it was just one after another, after another, after another, all of really good stuff.
I'm gonna have a lot of work to do when I get home. 'cause
Yeah, you
I got
are.
a lot of
And
posting
we
to do.
appreciate that, but you know,
Thank you.
that's part of you folks bringing in members for your clubs and you folks bringing in members for SAM. And you're right in the middle. The stuff comes from SAM to you folks, and then from you folks, it needs to get spread out to your club members. And it's not all good information, but it's all information. And maybe, you know, some things, there may be some support from your club members with some of this crazy stuff going on in the legislature. I mean, this voting bill.
Well, and to tack onto it, No on 3 was huge, what, years
Absolutely
ago?
what we did. Yeah.
That was a big thing with our club, and I think it's important to let your club members know that it was Sam's push to get that through, and the club members rising up in that grassroots effort. It wasn't the NRA, they came in at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
But that was huge money from Bloomberg, and that was a big deal that he defeated that bill. So that was all the small clubs banding together, and that was Sam doing that, and the membership. And so just let them know that, you know, their membership matters, and being a big, you know, group here. So let them know what Sam does.
Yeah. And it's a grassroots effort.
Right.
This is where, when they talk about grassroots, this is what it is.
For those who haven't.
If I can say something, the young lady that was sitting next to me, Rachel McManus, we have a couple, 3 people, well, we have probably more than 3 or 4 people in our club that know social media pretty well. But this young lady has put us into a whole new aspect of how to get out there and meet people her age or maybe a little older or a little younger, but that we don't even know how to get a hold of.
Yeah.
And we run, as you probably know, we run the Eastern Maine Sportsman Show. We haven't had one in 3 years. We've already got 6 or 8 new booth people that are her age that make things, do things, want to come to the show, but we would have no way to reach them. We would not even know who they are. And, you know, her age group, I don't mean that the wrong way, because maybe there's people in this room that understand all this stuff. I sure as hell don't. But it's opened up a whole new world for us, and the outreach of it is unbelievable.
Exactly. And, you know, look around this room. I mean, when we were in high school, did we have computers? We couldn't spell computer, okay? And it's just, it's amazing the ability to communicate that there is now, and we've got to take advantage of it.
If you go to our board meetings, they're all old gray-haired people. and
Yeah, and I
We're
didn't.
bringing her
I
in
was going to
because
say
we
that.
need that.
I was going to say that, but look at us.
All right.
You know, we need to bring the youngsters.
So, with that being said, because we're gonna be running out of time, I want everybody from every club just to give us a quick report of what's going on with their club. If they have any questions, so if Arnold Trail wants to start out, you signed in first, just let us know what's going on with your club.
Before you go there, one more subject,
Quick,
real quick.
because you talk a lot.
Yeah, well, sometimes I have to. We just got a bill passed to allow nonprofit charitable organizations to do a combination in-person and online raffle. That's a big deal for clubs. When COVID struck, the governor allowed online raffles, but nobody bothered to tell them when they were over and the executive order ended. So it is a revenue source for clubs in the future. We're putting together a template that we will share with the clubs that tell how, all the rules you have to apply to your online raffle.
When did that start? The
It hasn't.
online raffle?
It hasn't yet. As soon as it passes it's a SAM bill. And when it passes the legislature and we get that template, we'll share it with the clubs. So you can do in-person and online
Is
raffles.
that still going to be overseen by the state police gaming
Yes.
Nazis?
Yeah. Well, let's just say that the bill they passed, which was ours 2 years ago, we ended up opposing it because they botched it. We came back again and put in a bill, and this time around, we got a system we can work with. But it took 2 rounds.
Wow, that's good news.
It is good news, it's good for the clubs, it's gonna be
Yeah.
helpful.
Wow.
Anyway, go ahead,
All right,
Sean.
actually, can I just for 30 seconds?
All right, you guys.
I actually have to get going, but thank you all for attending. If you haven't seen it at the booth downstairs, there is a great video we produced, Sam did, on what we've accomplished, what we do, who we're about. We certainly can get a link to anybody, any club in that, if there's something they wanna play during a club meeting, functions, things like that. We may even have it available, is the thumb drive available yet?
Yes, it is, we're getting it next week.
Thumb drive for those, and again, I have no idea how to use a thumb drive even, but, we can send the links, we can send the videos, whatnot, but, it's really,
Yeah,
you feel good after watching it, you really
I think
do.
it's up on the
It
Sam
helps.
YouTube page.
Yeah, it is. So, we'll
All right.
start promoting it.
And take this stuff back to your club, what you got today, back to your membership.
I gotta head out, folks. My card's right here if you need one.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
I'll be talking.
Arnold Trail,
Thanks, Steve. What's going on?
Thanks a bunch. We made a good benefit of